corner as well. Basically, GDP significantly above the 2.4% that was expected at 3%. Basically suggests that the US is not in a recession. The Federal Reserve has an additional argument not to cut interest rates, and that's why the dollar is rising. And I think the numbers are a bit twisted because 3.0% does not necessarily suggest economic growth, but the market doesn't know that. They only care about missed expectations. But that just explains the rise of the dollar in the last few hours, amongst many, many other reasons that we have mentioned in the last few days and weeks, basically since the dollar has bottomed, or the DXY index has bottomed at 96. Rego, if you're trying to talk, I cannot hear you.
Oh,
Hello.
hello, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Alrighty.
How are you doing?
Good. Good morning. Good afternoon. Yeah, sharing screen, just setting it up. Uh, all right. What did I miss?
Basically two main events. We have the FOMC later
Yeah.
tonight, and we just had GDP numbers which exceeded expectations. So basically GDP growth at 3% instead of 2.4%, which is leading to a squeeze of the dollar. Has been relatively strong in the last few days anyway, since retesting that. You remember that parallel channel I showed you on the DXY index? Basically retested those range lows a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Strong since then. And now
Yeah,
with
look
the
at this.
GDP above expectations, is basically one of the reasons why the dollar has been dropping, among many others, is that due to tariffs, people expected a recession in the US or feared a recession in the US, right? So a lot of investors were rotating out of the dollar because of those fears. But now, aside from that being priced in and tariffs not being as aggressive as initially thought, right, and trading deals coming in between the United States and Europe, for example, the EU, now we also have data that says, well, the GDP growth is still pretty good, 3% instead of 2.4%, and right, and that's basically the reason why the dollar is increasing today and also in the last few days. But we've talked about it. I mean, short positions on the dollar were at the lowest level since 2021 on July 7th when it bottomed, right? So only natural for the dollar to react a bit after such a significant sell-off. Now, will it rise to new highs? That's very early to tell. I think the 100 area for the DXY index is very important. Could see the index rejecting at that zone first.
Yeah, I mean
But
the
ultimately, on the market side of things, I
dollar's still
personally
weak as hell.
find it very hard that it will drop below this year's lows.
Yeah, I mean dollar, all things considered, still extremely weak, right? So, still trading out of a on the lower end of a multi-year range, right? So,
Yeah, that's a
nice.
big zone. That box is a big zone to reclaim.
Yeah, it's a nice recovery over the past few days, but really on the grand scheme of things, we're back to early 2022 levels. So okay, so that's interesting. These GDP numbers are not definitely don't
So
fit the
the
narrative.
GDP,
That's for sure.
the problem with GDP numbers, Rego, is that they're a bit twisted, right? So they came in
Yeah,
negatively for the past 3 months, but that negative number did not suggest economic weakness, right? We talked about this. It was rather manufacturers importing more leading to a different a higher trade deficit, right? So more imports than exports, and that led to a negative number because there's that formula that you use to calculate GDP, right? And that those imports basically led to a twisted GDP number, and now imports are basically back at normal levels, right? Because manufacturers no longer are panic importing due to tariffs, and now logically it's 3%. It's positive again, just like it was before. But for instance, I saw that consumer spending did not significantly increase, right? So the
Hmm.
number is positive, but it's not necessarily due to more economic growth. But the way the market is interpreting the data right now is that, oh, 3%, the economy is strong. Powell will talk today. He will say the economy is strong. We don't need to cut interest rates, right? And that's why the dollar is rising currently, although it might not necessarily be the case that the economy is really strong. It is strong, right? But not the way the GDP data is suggesting. So that's just in a nutshell why the dollar is increasing currently, and
I mean,
it was also increasing in the last few days. So maybe even that was people front running positive GDP data.
came in with expectations of 2.5. That's
2.4,
quite
I
a
think.
Yeah, 2.4 or 2.5, somewhere in between. That's quite a big
Yeah,
miss. That's a pretty big
yeah.
miss, actually. Even the price index growth, right? Sorry, just the price index in general. Forecast at 2.8. We actually came in at 2. That's pretty big misses. So naturally, the market bonds a pretty dramatic fashion. I mean, all things considered, on our side of the market, we have our speculative side getting hit pretty hard. That's I guess that's kind
Altcoins
of
mostly, right?
yeah,
Bitcoin is
yeah.
still
I
still
mean,
fine, I
yeah,
think.
we've had quite a lot of interest in terms of purchasing, right? On the side, but yeah,
Even
the
ETH is
speculative
still
side.
fine.
Yeah, it's
I
been
mean,
doing all right, but we're starting to see the true phase one fashion here. So nothing too,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely. I
yeah,
I
no,
I, I
nothing too
pers
concerning.
I personally had ETH and ETH BTC at macro resistance areas a few days ago with the daily bearish divergence, only logical for people to take a
Yeah,
bit of profits. And naturally, you have ETF spot demand for ETH and Bitcoin, right? Which makes them more stable compared to everything else that's been mostly rising due to perps, right? And not
yep,
a lot of spot
exactly.
demand for something like Pengu, for example. It's mostly perps, and of course, these coins will retrace the most because they have been the top runners.
Yeah, yeah. It's mostly and we saw it over the past week or so, right? Obviously, we did rally for a good 7 to 10 days straight, but for the most part, a lot of these things were not met with true buying demand. They were just met with borrowed positions, right? And the market tends to do
Yeah,
that to get ahead of themselves, especially when Bitcoin and Ethereum make pretty expansive moves out of ranges or new highs, for example. So what we're
yeah.
seeing now is pretty much a punishment of that, and I want to say it's typical. It's not unusual, right? This is pretty much something we've seen time and time again,
Every
especially
time.
where, yeah, especially where Bitcoin dominance is, right? Especially based on all the metrics I have, you just had to expect this would try to like recover here, and there's a lot to go up until now, but a lot of this seems normal and healthy for me. I'm not too concerned. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
majors
absolutely.
are not budging. So like this is not a
Nothing
budge.
extraordinary.
Yeah,
Just
I
to
mean,
complement your thoughts, total open interest recently reached cycle highs, like made a
yep,
new all-time high. So the number of borrowed positions was never higher this entire cycle. Can you imagine that? So it is only natural that at resistance areas or macro resistance areas, when a lot of people that have been in the market before just start taking profits, and naturally these perp positions start closing at some point, maybe getting liquidated, and that leads to bigger flushes on altcoins, right? So it's nothing that we haven't witnessed before. We have seen it in March 2024, we have seen it in December 2024,
yep,
and we have seen it in a smaller scale in May 2025, right? But everything's natural, and if you've been here throughout the cycle, you have experienced these things, right? And naturally also took some profits when you saw something like total open interest skyrocketing and reaching new cycle highs. We've talked about it, not only on this stream with Rego, but also on my individual streams. I'm sure Rego talked about it as well, right? So nothing unexpected happening, nothing that we did not discuss or couldn't have anticipated before. Everything going as planned. So I think soon actually we might get some really good opportunities, at least in the secondary market for Bitcoin. I don't know, man. I wanted to drop a bit more, Rego, if you can do
It
something about it.
is, it is concerning, considering how much development over the past week we've seen. 2.5 billion, pretty much purchased straight up, but at the same time, just roughly 8 billion being sold with urgency, right? And this is all happening at levels we don't have data for. So I guess that's what makes it kind of exciting and fun, right? Because it's one thing to be stuck in a range for 7 months and just kind of see, large offloading at highs and large inflows at the lows. This is in quite literally price discovery. I think we have less than 2 weeks of data to go off of, and we're seeing, I want to say, numbers we're not typically used to seeing in terms of inflows and outflows. So again, it's interesting that 2.5 billion couldn't move the market, and neither could 8 billion. Right, 8 billion just barely made a sneeze on the market, as well as 2.5 billion dollars in buys. So as time goes on, I slowly start to realize that it just feels like any impulsive move is going to be met with a slow grind, and that's kind of sad because I guess it shows the maturity of the market and where how much that part of it has evolved. But realistically, the headlines we've been seeing, the purchases we've been seeing, the offloading we've been seeing, and for price to just be stuck between a $6,000 range, which again at 120,000 is nothing. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. I want to say that's incredibly positive, but at the same time, um, not much has happened, right? And we don't really have the data to go off of. So everybody else's guess is as good as mine about what happens next, especially when it comes to the intraday stuff. But for the rest of the market, it just seems natural for it to do this. I mean, we saw like DB. I know you saw this. We saw like a lot of alt season calls and a lot of
Oh yeah,
excitement
as per
surrounding
usual.
the alts, and I was just I'm sitting there and I'm going, but we're lower than where we were when we originally broke into K or 100K or more, right, for the first time. So I saw that as a bit of a warning shot, but I want to say that the road ahead is it's clear, it's nice. It's just we need to be mindful of when these borrowed positions start getting out of hand like they did at the start of last week. We need to be a little bit more cautious on what happens. But for the most part, I like to think a lot of these things caught up. They made a really nice play, and now it's just about locating true demand and whether there is true demand or none at all, right? But in between, it provides some really nice moves. I mean, we're seeing some really nice moves both up and down. So I'm pretty happy for that. I think our market has benefited as long as there's movement. I think our market's been quite exciting the past 2 to 3 weeks. I don't maybe the past couple of days have been a bit more rigid, I guess is the word. But yeah, with all things considered, I mean, we've had a ton of headlines to chew on. And it's maybe a slightly concerning, but at the same time, when you look at the lack of movement on the pairings that are associated with it, I want to see it as optimistic. I don't see it as a negative thing. Um, a lot of larger time frames are starting to get a bit exhausted here, and that's positive I take from it. Right? It's just it might be a little bit more of a waiting game than we expect. We've had some good stuff. We've had some good stuff over the past couple weeks, and again, still somewhere in the smack middle of summer, maybe coming towards the end of that, another month or so. To expect things to pop off. I mean, we do got an FOMC and a monthly close in the next 48 hours. FOMC later this afternoon, monthly close tomorrow night.
Mm,
So
very
again,
important. Well, very important monthly close, in my
oh
view.
yeah, absolutely. It's huge,
Very,
and
very important.
yeah, we're in some impressive levels for certain pairings. I'm not going to say all of them, but yeah, it's a big monthly close. It's very very important, and this
You
would
see what I see?
on what chart on this one?
Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Talking about the monthly close.
Are we referring to the highest candle in its history?
I'm referring to the 3 drive.
Ah, nah, mumbo jumbo.
Nah, we're going to 250K.
I know we are.
EV.
I know we are. I promise you we are. And
I promise
I
you
gave you
too
my
that we
time
are.
window. I gave you my time window, you know?
I promise you we will go higher than 250K for Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, yeah. That part I can't give you a time frame from, but by end of the year you'll be
But
somewhere around there.
you know how I mean it, right? I mean it a bit
Yes.
differently than you.
Oh, for sure, for sure. As long as we're on agreement that it goes there. I think it goes there a lot quicker than people are anticipating. But yeah, I mean, look, it's about 48 hours away from having its highest monthly close ever. Again, that's not a negative thing to consider. It really isn't. Um, but yeah, still a ton of room to go. In my opinion, a lot of work needs to be done here if you want to see some true strong rotation, some true narratives caught on other pairings. But for now, um, for the most part, this follows a traditional phase one. I mean, you've had some catch ups, you've had some outperformances, um, but no new highs. No new highs on the pairings we really need to see. Aside from what XRP, I'm pretty sure XRP was probably the only one to do that this time around, and it was short lived. It was very short lived. But nonetheless, the major has made new highs, and that's something to consider. If I'm not mistaken, as well, BNB as well. I could be wrong. No, I'm not wrong. BNB did make new highs. Now it's all about keeping them on monthly time frame. So these next 48 hours are gonna be really, really huge. DB going into FOMC, I think we know what's gonna happen. The typical.
Look, FOMC is interesting in the way that I initially thought that it's not super relevant because we know what to expect. But the reaction of the dollar makes me a bit, I don't know. Like, can this just be GDP numbers? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
for sure it
very
is.
strong reaction, right?
For sure it is. They
Like,
missed it by quite a bit, right? Like from what I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
here, this is
absolutely.
yeah.
Just like speculating, could it be, market knowing something what Powell will say today that might not be in favor of rate cuts? Just speculating, pure speculation, of course, but very interesting. But yeah, aside from that, FOMC meeting, I don't think it will change the, how should I say it, the trajectory of the market. The higher time frame structure won't be as relevant for it because we know that interest rates will remain the same. We've known it for weeks. The market had enough time to price that in, right? So it's nothing unexpected. And we also know that September is a possible date for a rate cut. We have known that for weeks as well, right? If inflation data comes in positively, at least according to Powell. So these are two well-known facts that will be shared today. So Powell will say rate cuts will remain unchanged, and we may consider rate cuts in Q4 if inflation data allows it. Anything different than that will cause a lot of volatility, right? So if, for example, Powell says, well, let's cut interest rates today, that would catch the market completely off guard. Of course, the probability of that is close to zero, but just talking about all possible options. On the other hand, if he starts saying something like, we won't see interest rates cuts this year at all, or something in that direction, I think that would be more positive for the dollar, right? Because one of the biggest reasons why the dollar has been declining was due to tariffs and what tariffs may do to the US economy. And people basically speculated that tariffs can drag the US into a recession, and that would mean that the Federal Reserve would need to step in and start an easing cycle, right? By cutting interest rates, by increasing their balance sheet, for instance. And all that speculation led to a drop in the dollar. Whereas if he starts saying something like, "Well, we may actually not cut interest rates at all," that would be quite positive for the dollar, and I think that could lead to some issues in the crypto market, especially like altcoins. Maybe not Bitcoin as much, but altcoins for sure. So that is how I see the FOMC meeting. It will be more important what he has to say about monetary policy plans for the next months. And so the conference will be important. The interest rate decision per se will not be as important because we know what to expect.
Okay. Okay. I can
What's
see
up?
the
What are
reasoning for
your
that.
views?
I,
What are
I'm
your,
I'm
your
expecting
views?
the same shake and bake. No cuts today. Obviously, I think that's a safe option to pick. But yeah, I totally agree that I think he's going to discuss GDP data, and that's going to give him reason and justify for why they've been cautious this whole time, because now they're starting to see the true effect on what tariffs are causing in terms of effect on the market, yada yada yada. They may implicate, like you said, the original idea to originally cut rates sometime this year may have to be postponed. I want to say I'm kind of on the same side, just because if it's the Powell we know and love, he will most likely do that, because now he's got the data, right, to push this thing and delay it and create an issue. The problem is
Yes.
it's the credibility side where I think they have to be careful with, because again, they did on multiple occasions look to push for rate cuts this year. So now if that's going to be changed, um, they need to consider a credibility side, that if they knew it would get to this, why was there an original announcement of cut rates in the beginning? Why was there a rate cut in November? Like, they have to be careful with the words they're going to say. But if I know Powell at all, they're not gonna go too off the deep end about their predictions and what they're saying. They're pretty much gonna sit there and tell you, yeah, well, the proof is in the pudding. The data says this, and for that reason, we have every right to, kind of take things as they go. And I guess that would be the smart way to approach it. I don't think they're gonna make an announcement like no rate cuts for the year. I think that's just a bit too bold. Um, Especially when you got, a tweeting psycho that continues to breathe down your neck, right? So I think they're going to choose their words carefully today. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot, but it's going to be more like, chip on your shoulder, told you so. I knew these numbers would come in hotter than expected, and that's my reason for doing this. But they're not going to touch the hot potato that is announcing potential rate cuts for the rest of the year or revoking that possibility. I think they're going to keep the market in that state of limbo. I don't think they're going to come out flat out and say that there's no, at the current speed that we're at, or at the current condition that we're at, where we've decided we're not looking to cut rates this year at all. I don't think they're going to come out and say that. I think that's my only disagreement. I don't think they like to
Yeah, I
send
agree.
markets
No,
into, yeah.
yeah, I didn't mean that. Maybe I chose the wrong words. I didn't mean like he will say we won't cut
Yeah, but
interest
you're
rates.
you're
He never
speculating
does.
that if he were to
Yeah,
come
like
out and say it, I understand. Yeah.
yeah, like use paraphrase it differently. Use wordings that make people
Yep.
speculate that that's what he meant. Indirectly. Yeah. So we have
Yeah,
PCE
like,
data tomorrow as well. That's the Fed's favorite inflation measure. And I would
tomorrow.
assume that they have the PCE data today as well, right? I mean, if it's released tomorrow, I
Oh,
think
for sure, for sure.
they should have access to it. So I'm pretty sure that today's comments will also be informed based on PCE data that will be released tomorrow. And
Yep.
from PCE, PPI, and CPI, this PCE index is the Fed's most important inflation measure. So based on this, they also make decisions. And we've had CPI a bit higher last time, right? It came in above expectations for the first time in 4 or 5 months. He might use that as an argument as well, in addition to GDP being positive and economic growth still being relatively high. So we shall see. His comments will be very important. If he doesn't say anything unexpected, then we should be fine. Just fear the unexpected. Fear the unexpected, because that usually catches the market off guard.
Yeah, I mean, we've
And we have
been
unemployment as well. Quite
been through
interesting.
so many of these, right? They're never going to go out of their way to say something that's going to jeopardize the market. It's rare. It's rare. I would say like once every 8 months or so, they'll come out with like one of those edgy sort of press
Yeah.
conferences. But for the most part, I think Powell is being closely monitored under a scope in the news a lot. Probably not something he wants to be a part of. So again, like just from that perspective, I think they're gonna be very
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
vague, like they always are. They're mostly vague, and I think they'll just be more vague this time. Like
Mm.
because again, there's no real questions to ask, and all they would really have to do is just avoid a complete change in plans. And by the way, we're not cutting rates. They can just keep us in suspense until the end of the year, and I think that would be more of a soft blow to the market rather than coming out and saying something that I don't think people would react very positively to, especially to being told for a year that they're on their way. But
Mm-mm. Yeah. There's one thing currently circulating on Twitter, by the way, which might seem like some FUD, some news saying that the White House crypto report does not include details about the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I don't know
interesting.
if this is new or not, but I've just seen this on Watcher Guru, and might also be one source of FUD that is contributing to the recent price action. So if anyone can confirm if that's new or not, that'd be appreciated.
Try and take a look at it. I mean, it's White House crypto report does not include details about the strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah, the thing is that we had the biggest run of this cycle due to this Bitcoin reserve, right? From November to December, people anticipating Trump coming in and
Yep.
establishing this Bitcoin reserve. And then we had this 100-day period where this committee had time to discuss possible ideas on how to form and to develop this reserve, and we still don't have news about it, right? So I could imagine that that can spook some people off from the markets if the one of the biggest catalysts of the market in recent months is far from being realized. So
Yeah, and it most
could be.
likely is. I mean, a strategic reserve, and a strategy to implement would be kind of difficult, right? I don't think you get it in the first 6 months, and I think we were accurate on that.
Mm. Yeah, Marek, I think that, I mean, we always get news, right? But when the market is like truly bullish and we only have green candles, then people don't pay attention to the news and to the headlines. Whereas when the market is dropping, then people try to attach the price action to any piece of news or developments and try to attribute the price action to these news, right? When the market is pumping, nobody says, "Oh, we pumped because of this headline," or something like that. And if there's something negative, then they don't pay attention, or they will say something like, "Look, bad news, but we're still rising, right? So it doesn't matter." So I think when the market drops, it becomes a bit more sensitive to these news. But ultimately, do they really matter? I'm not entirely sure. It's just noise in between.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, we had another $1.2 billion purchase this morning. So again, like garnering tons of interest. Um, I don't know. Yeah, 1.2 bill. 1.2 bill has been bought overnight. So I wonder who that is this time. But I mean, for the most part, price
New
hasn't
York
budged.
Open. We
Open, so
just
let's
got
see how
New
they
York
react.
Open.
Yeah,
And
probably not
dollar
in a good way,
rising.
right? Uh, bu- 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 bu-
I'm telling you one thing. If the dollar gets overpriced in the next 2-3 years, I'm buying all Bitcoin I can with it, and then I'll change my name to DBP1. And
uh,
you're hearing You hear me talking about how bad Powell is and how he should cut interest
Well,
rates.
Powell will be gone. Powell will be gone soon
Yeah, yeah.
enough. We're gonna need a new bad guy to point fingers at. For me right now,
Yeah.
he's a bad guy because I would like again, I'll never be able to justify the rates at what they're currently at, and that bothers me. It's not because I want them at 0%. I just want them at a more reasonable level. You know, because I think they could. I think the U.S. could benefit from a bit lower rates. I think, but that's just me from like a realistic perspective. 4.5% being chokeholded for months and months is just nuts to me, at least.
In terms of prices, like what are your levels you're looking at to bid either Bitcoin or Ethereum
Bitcoin,
or anything?
I mean, for me, it's been this level on the 4 hour for quite a while now. Doubt we get it. Really doubt we get it. It's gonna be more towards like 114 now at this point. But originally, the bid was to be this demand block right here towards 112, 110. I don't think we're gonna get it anymore. I think we're just getting like that typical slow sideways bleed, and then we're gonna pop something like this. This is what it looks like. And if we're
Yeah.
really fortunate, you're gonna get something like this, like a wick, and then before you know it, we're back here, and we continue the sideways consolidation back up. That's what I think is gonna happen. And again, I follow the belief that because we're in a parabolic structure and still continue to remain, every range is shorter than the last, and I'm sure you could see that now. This range was around 7 to 8 months long. This one was about roughly half the time frame of that, and this one will be even shorter before the next pop up. It's gonna be something like this. If it's in a true, because I haven't seen like a breaking of a parabolic structure yet, so that's where that's what I kind of believe. So ideally, for like a rebid, the 4 hour level. And again, now it's conflicting because when I originally had this level mapped out, my 200 EMA was smack in the middle of it, and now that's more towards 114. So it's very unlikely. We spend a lot of time there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But like, yeah, the ideal bid would be right here. Um,
The
and if I have to
problem I
start
have
averaging in,
the problem I have with that area is that it's like too obvious, man. I hate
I know.
crowded areas. Like everybody would assume that the previous all-time high retest is the play to go, right?
Yep.
And
And
I
it's
mean,
also just a
consensus.
heavy block. It's a heavy block of demand.
It
It's
makes a lot of sense, right? TA
Yep.
wise, but do we get what makes sense? That's my problem. So I mean, I don't know. The thing is that even if Bitcoin doesn't do anything and just consolidates your shops around with the way Bitcoin dominance has been reversing, it wouldn't need Bitcoin to drop as much for altcoins to really suffer, right? And to drop significantly more.
Yeah, it's an interesting area where we currently sit, right? Because there's metrics that suggest a bit higher for dominance to go, and if it really wants to make a ruckus, it could just fake out the breakdown and come back up and continue what it's always been doing. And I expect pain in the market if it wants to do that. Um, but going back to like your idea of like obvious areas, it really is obvious, and a lot of the times, if we do get the level that we're considering, it's very quick. It spends almost no time there. We're talking like an hour max.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping my eye out for it, and the best way I've approached these sort of situations, if you do have a bullish thesis, you do believe it's bullish, and you do want this area super bad, I treat it like the same way I treated 75K. I treat it like the same way I traded 50K. Um, you need to have a plan to like kind of like average it in, being inconspicuous a bit, and for that reason, um, being where my 200 EMA is at, I could assume that there's gonna be a lot of a response from here, but it probably won't be enough. So you'll see something like this. We'll tap into it. We'll probably move away from it. Feel a lot of people FOMO in and come back in, and we'll do something like this. Um, so somewhere between it all, you have to find like an average in between here. which is kind of wide, but that's what I mean by you have to be a bit inconspicuous with Bitcoin. It's been a very very big bitch to trade. Um, be a little bit more on the side that calls the bluff. Um, and that usually means targeting a rather large range because you believe overall that, hey, I'm not sure if I can get this, and I'm not sure if this is reliable enough. So somewhere in between is where I'm willing to buy. And I guess that's what I'm looking for on the number one. Then when we flip to the number two, this one gets a bit more tricky, just because we have a ton of levels we have to consider. It's not that we have any unknown. For starters, 4,000, big psychological level, big pain in the ass. I'm sure everybody knows. 4K has been the tormentor for I want to say over 4 years now, or
Yeah.
just under 4 years. So that's been a big tormenting psychological level. And I have clear rules that I like to establish for this. I mean, we got 3682, which again is a big daily resistance. It's kind of been flipped as a support now. It's aggressive. I don't think I can take 3682 into 4,000 and be comfortable with it. So the real big level I'm always looking for is going to be back towards 3380. Just to about 3300. If you manage to get that for whatever reason, that's great. And because I'm not too happy about trying to take 3682 into 4,000, I'd be overall just happier buying above 4,000 because I think
Yeah, absolutely.
if you do clear that level,
Yesterday,
it's big. It's a big deal. So
yesterday I've been saying that we will get better opportunities for ETH, be that higher or lower, right? It doesn't matter. If it's higher, then you know that it has flipped the 4K area and turned it into support, and that's your invalidation. If it's lower, you're just bidding a pullback, right? But you don't bid under 4K, which has been historically a macro resistance zone, right? So a better buying opportunity not necessarily means that we will get a pullback. It can also mean that a big level is reclaimed, and understanding this is very important. But I personally had a daily bear div on ETH and a daily bear div on ETH BTC, both at macro resistance areas, which were my reasons to step the foot out of the from the gas and wait for a small pullback correction, call it whatever you want. So my first higher time frame area is as well. If 4K is not reclaimed, then I would be interested in 3,400, 3,300 for ETH as a first zone of interest. And then if we get that, we will evaluate some local triggers, whether we want to buy or not.
yeah, the 4K level is huge. It's huge. It's been fought for, I want to say, for over a year now, right? So you do finally get above that. I don't think this has any merit whatsoever. I think that's gonna get smashed right through. I think you'll have a lot of fuel and momentum, right? That'll carry you, in my opinion, much higher. Um, this whole PA right here resembles very very closely to the echo bubble of 2019 for Bitcoin. So that's something I've been watching closely. Very very similar movement and response. Very very similar to the echo bubble of 2019 with the tariff as the catalyst for really really bad sell off. I mean, new lows. Can I find an example of that of what I'm trying to talk about? Way back, huh? That's 2019 for me. Again, very very similar. Very very similar. We are where I think we are. We're somewhere right here. You guys could see we had like that range. We had multiple tests, into to a lower high, followed by that catastrophic sell-off. This was COVID, so I related to the tariffs and now the recovery. So if we look at it like the way I'm looking at, maybe you guys could see it kind of very similar, kind of very similar, like kind of, I mean very similar. So it's very very fractally, but at the same time, if this is their reaccumulation cycle, then it should follow the same. But again, just me looking for stuff, trying to make sense of where we actually are in the cycle, because this has been a prolonged one to say the least. It's been rather prolonged. So I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself. I'm trying to take it every day with what I see. But yeah, for all this to happen, this needs to expand into new highs. And again, I want to say everything considered, to be in unknown waters like this and to just shuffle sideways. I think we've had over 3.7 bill of buying interest, 8 bill of sell interest. So I consider 3.5 billion dollars bought by two different entities, followed by 8 billion sold by one entity. There's an argument to be made here that the continuous daily demand that Bitcoin is reaching, either through ETF inflows, et cetera, can't keep up now with the $8 billion of offloading. And now if you have a couple of these guys, throwing 2.5 bill, 1.5 bill every so often, I think it's just a fuel or a recipe. Um, I don't want to say for disaster because it would be quite lovely, um, but it's just to say we've if we were in unmarked territories and we were way too overvalued, we would have absolutely plummeted from here. And yet again, we just kind of sideways. This looks more like a consolidation more than anything. You might get a stab, you might get a nice little liquidity fetch, but that should be quickly back up and continued on its way. We are quite far away from a daily 200 EMA. So again, if this is a slow grind, it could look like this, as it's catching up, and then just continue to do its thing until this is broken and proven otherwise. There's a number of ways you can go about it. But overall, if the number one market cap, which holds more than 60% of this entire industry's market cap, is bullish, then there's not really much reason to turn. Not yet. Um, and the summer's approaching. Tons of positive headlines every goddamn day. I want to say the market's in a really good state, all things considered. The big question here is these things, these horrible things. That just failed to catch a bid, like a real bid. And when we're not talking about open interest and borrowed positions and margin being used to front positions. I have yet to see, and maybe the only exception this time, DV has been Ethereum's ETF flows. They've been the only real demand I've seen on alts in
Mhm.
years, in years.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. It's the only thing that caught my eye over the past 3 weeks is that for once, um, you had very, very strong buys. You had strong buys on Ethereum, and like we said, it doesn't take much to move this market at this current state, especially the secondary market. It will not take much, and we got to see that just off a couple of weeks of positive inflows of ETFs. We've seen a rather strong move, a decisive one to say the least. But when that stops, and everybody just goes, "Oh, the coast is clear. Let me long this on leverage. Let me borrow margin to buy this thing." We kind of see the market lose its steam. And again, the two demands I've seen, and I forgot I left one out. XRP and Ethereum are the only two that I've actually seen swap buying on, and that's worth like noteworthy. I haven't actually seen that on Solana. I've seen it on XRP and I've seen it on Ethereum. Aside from Bitcoin, the two spot demands. And Ethereum has ETF flows, right? So it's understandable it gets these numbers. What I don't understand um, is XRP spot demand, and that's worth taking a note of because again, um, when that thing trends, it trends, and the reason why it trends so hard, the reason why it's very very difficult to sell it or to short it is because of its overwhelming demand of spot, right? Believe it or not, there's an overwhelming demand of spot in that pairing, and it was the same for Ethereum over these past couple of weeks, and something to keep your eye on is where's the true demand? Has any shown up in these past 3 weeks? And we can answer yes, but for the rest of these things, there has not. There's not been spot demand, ironically enough. Um, and we can argue. I guess we can argue BNB just because of its utility in the Binance ecosystem itself and the Binance world itself. For that reason, requires buying of this token, right? So I can argue that, but is anybody going out and actually buying BNB? I don't think so. The numbers wouldn't suggest it, but those are your four main ones, right? From what I could see, just off my analysis, there's we want to look for the true demand and where it is. And right now, it's in the pairings I mentioned, and even at that, that's slowed down a bit. It's really the true consistent demand that we see every single day is on the number one asset itself, and that's BTC, and it's been a continuous, steady spot buying with the occasional 2.5 bill, 1 bill chucked at it. The casual, cheeky absorbing of 8 billion cells in an area that is considered unknown, right? That's my little tangent on the rest of the market. Just be careful with true demand and fake demand. You know, high open interest usually never a good sign, especially when there's no demand to back it up, right? So, um, and that's it. And it's fairly easy to tell. You'll just see funding rates start to get really out of control, and as you can see now, they've calmed down quite a bit. They've calmed down quite a bit, but around last week, these are all at 0.3, 0.4. Um, yeah. So can I
I think
layer
XRP
it
makes
on?
a lot of sense when the market starts heating up because it's also a favorite coin for retail investors. And that's why you have something like XRP or ADA doing pretty good when the market starts pumping again. So that's probably one of the reasons why XRP always runs despite not having an ETF like ETH.
I mean, it's got a cult-like following. It's got a cult-like following. And those guys, they'll buy every day. Buy every day. Doesn't matter how much, but they'll buy. And there's only other one pairing I know where people do this consistently and almost like on a religious basis. So that's why I don't really laugh at them anymore, or I don't really mock it anymore because the demand is there. There are people that will buy no matter the price. It will not sell for any reason whatsoever, and that's a very hard belief system to build. It's not easy. So when it trends hard, and it's one of the only pairings to have broken its 2018 curse, right?
Yeah.
So it's something to keep in mind. But DB, we got about what? We got about 10, 12 minutes left. So we've been talking. If anybody's got questions, I think that would be a good time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we covered pretty much everything that's relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
Covered the
data
GDP. We
release.
speculated. We did a bunch of things.
Yeah, and upcoming data releases as well. PC tomorrow, and the unemployment rate in Friday on Friday as well. So all data prints that tell us more about the macro, and that can be relevant for our markets as well.
Sideways
Now we
open,
didn't
by the way.
discuss Solana. We're not discussing individual altcoins specifically, as this is a macro stream. But if there's any questions related to current macro developments, data releases, then feel free to ask us.
Silent chat. Silent chat. Shy people. Very very shy.
All
Went
people are
by.
just doing their profits, man, from recent days. We're only looking at the screenshots. Okay,
Ah.
coming up.
Think there was a point back in 2021 where Powell should have cut rates? Absolutely not. They were pretty much at zero in 2021 or late 20 or early 2021. No, all of 2021 they were
Very close to zero, yeah. No, yeah,
they were
inflation was
literally at
skyrocketing.
zero. Yeah, there was nothing. There was not more they could have done. Like it was in November, right, where they started to hike them up aggressively. I mean, like they couldn't have
Yeah.
gone any lower, right? So
November 2021, inflation was skyrocketing because of the COVID stimulus. So all they had left to do was actually increase interest rates, and it wasn't just Powell; it was all central banks around the world, right? It
yeah,
wasn't
it was
just
a crisis. It was an unusual crisis, and businesses had to stop for 2 to 4 weeks. People were literally out of a job, and the government, with the help of central banking, said, "Don't worry, guys, we got you. Do your thing and stay home. We'll be giving you subsidy checks,
Okay.
and we'll be giving businesses grants to finance and hire employees, even though business is slow. It was a weird time to be alive, to say the least. It was a really really weird time. And we saw things from that side of the world where we'll probably never see again. I could confidently say that, where you're giving businesses that apply for a loan to pay their employees because business is not good. Like, it was a really really strange time. It was a really strange time, and it was an exceptional um, moment in history, right? It's not every day they'll do that, and they'll probably never do it again. Is because the damages of that we're still dealing with today, pretty much. We're still dealing with the aftermath of that. What would happen if Trump fires
Okay.
Powell before the FOMC announcement? I don't think he has the authority to do so.
He would have done it
Um,
already
he would have done
if
it
he
by now.
could.
Yeah, I don't think he has the legal authority to do so. But
Isn't
what he could do is he can make it so annoying to do your job that you kind of just resign.
and that's what
But I don't.
he was trying to do, right? With all the tweets and
I
all
think
the
he's still
public
trying. I
attacks.
think he's still trying to do it. I,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I don't think Powell will budge unless there's a smoking gun on him, which I guess by now they would have found. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see it
Yeah.
happening. I think we could just ride it
No, me
out for
neither.
another year, and
Me
and
neither.
he's out
And especially
anyways.
not before the FMC announcement. Like would be
Yeah,
that's not happening.
Powell's not gonna get fired before the press conference. Like
Or during the press conference.
fire him with an accident. I mean, again, this is vague, and it's more like
It's
it's
wishful
total
thinking, guys. That's
speculation.
not happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's if we're gonna go by the book here and the political book, it's you can't take him out, but he's gone in a year. I mean, it could happen. Stranger things have happened. But I doubt it. I doubt it. At this point, I doubt it. And yeah, you never know.
Is it
Trump is Trump.
better
That's the
to
only reason
take
why I say I doubt it. That's the only that's the only reason why I say you never know, because again, you never know. Um,
there's
Better to
one
take
question asking, is
profits.
it uh,
That one,
to be honest, like I'm not a seasonality trader. I
me
don't
neither.
long because it's Friday, short because it's Sunday. It doesn't matter. I take profits when the market tells me to take profits. That can be at the beginning of the month. That can be at the end of the month. It's not really relevant to me. I mean, there's always some volatility around monthly closes, right?
Yep.
But you have to have confluence from your technical analysis and from other indicators that you analyze, and they will tell you if it's time to take profits or not. That can be in the middle of the month as well. Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, it's less about time. Like, it's less about like. I mean, you could be a candle trader. I mean, I don't know many people that do it, but a lot of people, like, I don't blame them for saying, hey, it's monthly close today. I'm in no trades right now, so I don't see a reason to open one today. It's more like that. Um, but like, if you're having swing plays and all this, a monthly close shouldn't affect your decision there. But like, if you're intraday trading and you see it's the monthly close, you go, I don't really want to touch this right now. So like, I understand that, but like, nah, making a decision just because of a monthly close is not how I operate. It's not how DB operates.
Yeah.
Um, Doc Rock, I have a question. I don't know if it's the right place to ask this. Maybe anybody briefly explain how the housing market is related to the weak, strong dollar, the whole current macro situation cycle in general. A weaker dollar makes it easier to borrow large amounts, right? And when interest rates are high, the stress tests are high, right? So people looking for a mortgage, or looking to purchase housing, right, require a loan of some sort. A loan is much easier to get, for example, when interest rates are at 2%, 1.5%, and not so easy to get when they're at 4.5%, 5%, because the cost of borrowing is pretty much double, right, at that point. So when you have people that are just getting by, or just trying to borrow a large sum of money, that 2% to 4% jump is everything to them. Can make or break them, right? We're talking about anywhere between $600 to $1,200 of interest in a single month for a loan, right? That would cost you $1,200 less. And again, for average families, $1,200 a month is just being spent on interest is no joke. It's no joke. So yes, that affects the housing market to some extent, right? Because it means less people are able to buy, right? And the majority of the housing market is made up of single home buyers, right? And if single home buyers are stress tested to the point where they cannot afford the loan, yeah, that could affect the housing market. But it's not a direct, like, it's not the cause factor. It is it is something to consider, but it's not the whole story, right? The housing market's a pretty big industry, so but that's why they always relate, lower interest rates and the cost of the dollar because most mortgages are, sorry, most homes are purchased with a loan, right? Bank is the one that fronts you the money, and you're the one stuck paying it for whatever term you've agreed to, 25 years. So if you're locking in 25 years at 4.5%, it's gonna hurt. If you can get that for half the price, um, naturally, the house is more affordable, right? It's a ton of people I knew in the States during COVID, when they were given 0% rates and they were 80% done paying off their house. I said, well, fuck it, open up a mortgage on the house again at 0%, meaning they just have to pay back their loan, and don't have to pay back any interest. So what they did is they shoved that money into investments, and by the end of the year, they outperformed their interest rates, right? So yeah, it plays a role. It absolutely does. The cost to borrow definitely has a role on housing markets. Got about 4 minutes here left, but that was a good question. I love answering those ones. Fun.
That was a better answer even.
Thank you, sir. Oh, pretty slow morning so far. I'm almost done the first 30 minutes of New York Open. Didn't kind of really do much, right? I thought we would get a bigger response from everything. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Pretty stagnant, if I'm honest. Gonna get another day of chop. Right. No movement whatsoever. Holy moly! Look at that.
It it it,
Same
it,
candles
it
for the
will
past hour.
it will come a bit later, I think.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we're getting squeezed to the very end here. I mean, look at this trend. Look at this trend on the 15-minute. Complete sideways mumbo jumbo here.
That's crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
There really is no trend. It's really untradeable right now. There's nothing to really trade unless you again wanna short after an impulsive
Well,
move up.
I'm telling you, like the last few weeks, to me, it's not really my favorite market to trade. Because I prefer ranging market, not ranging in the sense what Bitcoin is doing here, right? But at least
Yeah,
like
like a larger time frame range. This is
yeah,
bullshit.
larger
This
time frame range, right? But when it's just up only, like how can you trade that? It's very difficult, and you got to be a very aggressive trader. Pretty.
it's man to be aggressive here. You're gonna make mistakes. I mean, look at this shit. Look at this shit. This is like edge is non-existent in a range this tight. I mean, this is the 50-minute time frame, right? So like what we're talking like 2% moves here, 2 to 3% moves. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your time. Because this is doing everything it can to shake you out before the larger move, and that larger move is either price discovery, or a very favorable bid. So like again, the past couple 2 3 days, I haven't taken many trades. I haven't because I do believe we're in a bullish trend, and trying to catch the few off days where a market's retesting new levels is not my cup of tea. Up only is terrible for intraday trading um if you don't have a position beforehand. It could be very gruesome and very difficult to trade. It's not as easy as it sounds, right? You know how many people tell you, "Oh, you're lucky when it's a bull cycle in 2020." It's not as easy as it looks, by the way. It's not, um, especially if you have been here before and you have a bit of fear in you this time around. For the novices, it's very easy to just jump in, and because they see green, right? They jump in right away and they're able to hold on for levels you can't fathom. But if it's your second cycle around, you're gonna realize how hard it is to trade up only. It's a lack of experience. The ones that can just jump in and hold on to the trend for 6 7 days, the ones that are experienced know that a market has to come back to retest. It has to come back and pull back. And those past 8 9 days, remember that relentless trend? It just didn't stop. It is what it is. And it's never like, and then you'll try that 20 more times, and you'll somehow make a mistake, or it'll just come back and revert, and that's what creates that psychology in your head. Good advice would be take profits on spot bags and just be patient. It's your risk tolerance. It's your management of money. You know, we can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you how to do it. If you're riding nice profits and you can't stop looking at its unrealized P&L, you know, myself and DB, whenever we have a trade and we're satisfied with it, or if ever we have a bag and we're very satisfied with the move, at the very least we pay ourselves so there's no loose ends. We don't just continuously keep it on a 100% gamble, you know, with no understanding of it coming back. Like, it's a management on your own end. We can't tell you what to do in that sense.
I was talking about a pullback and also already pulled back 20%, right?
Yeah, like we've
VX4.
had our pullbacks. Like now it's like, okay, well we need to look strategically now.
And
Like, you know, we're due
I
to
didn't
move
tell
up
you guys
again.
to take profit. I didn't tell you guys to take profits today. I've been saying it for the past days, maybe even a week. I think we did a pretty good job to time the local top for
Yep,
altcoins, and everything's
I
down
did too.
20%,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I mean, if you took profits, GG, that was a good decision. Is
yep,
it a good idea to take profits now? I mean, the market has retraced quite a bit, can bounce
yeah,
now a bit. So you might want to look for a bearish retest at some point if you don't think
yep.
the trend will continue, and maybe that's a good time to take some profits. But it's the problem is that people ask whether they should take profits when things are down 20% instead of
But that's it.
asking
Yeah,
if they should take profits when everything's ripping.
that's
I
it.
don't know if Bruno is here, but he's one of the few members that asks, "Man, tell me when should I sell?" Now, when everything's ripping, he tells me when should I sell. I don't know if he does, but he asks about it.
He
And
does. He does.
the
Yeah,
most common question when everything's ripping is, "Hey, give me a limit. Where do I buy?" But that's the wrong question, right? When everything's up like
yep,
150% in 2 or 3 weeks, you should be taking profits, no questions
yep,
asked, right? Because
yep,
you know that at some point a retrace will come.
yep. That's just, yeah. It is what it is. I was in the same position. I saw things ripping for 3, 4 days straight, and I said, "Look, guys, you know, if you miss the move, you bite the bullet. You miss the move. It happens. But now's not the time to be, you know, going crazy and looking for limits. If you couldn't pull the trigger 3, 4 days ago, you do not pull the trigger now. You know, you wait for that retest, and that's the retest you need to get in on. So I was on the same boat as UDB. Albeit mostly from a sideline position, especially from the intraday side of things, because I was sidelined to fucking hell. Because it just refused to pull back under any circumstance. It refused to give me any meaningful pullback. So you know, from experience, just couldn't justify the risk of buying into you know, a relentless uptrend, 8, 9 days of daily candles in a row. It's
Yeah.
unprecedented, that sort of move. So now, you know, we're in a position where things are starting to look a bit more appetizing. We'll eventually get that bounce, and all we have to do is just keep trying. You know, keep trying to look for, you know, triggers that make the most sense, and waiting for those triggers to react. So again, it's a patience thing. You know, if prices are ripping like DB said, you kind of have to have a strategy in place that allows you to take profits. You know, and you shouldn't be looking to do that if you've already rode them down 20, 30%. It just, you know, the same way you miss a long to the upside is the same way you're missing a sell to the downside. It's vice versa. But we're going over our time here. It's 10:05, and of course, you guys love to start talking and get active when it's time for us to get off. So thank you very much.
Maybe that's maybe because that's when we shut up, and stop talking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we do like these question windows. So I guess, you know, from now on we'll dedicate maybe like the last 15, 20 minutes of the stream to you know, just like spitballing, throwing out some answers. Um, but yeah, we don't want to go over to Pocky's time any longer than we already have. So out of respect for our other traders, we will be ending it off here. DB, I thought it was a great stream.
Likewise, bro. Thank you for joining and for engaging everyone.
Yes, thank you everybody. I don't know why I had trouble saying that, but thank you everybody. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Me and DB, you know where to find us. And yeah, I might do FOMC. Depends when I get back from the dentist later. So if you guys want to tune in and watch the press conference with me. I'll be on Twitch later. We haven't done one of those in a while, so we will. But DB, thank you very much. Appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. And chat, stick around. Don't go anywhere. Pocky's coming right up.
Take care, guys. Have a nice day.
Take care.